नासदा सिन्नो सदा सीतानिं नासिद्रोजो न व्योमोपरो यत् किमावरीवः कुहकस्य शर्मन्नभः किमासिद्रगहनं गभीरं सृष्टि से पहले सत नहीं था असत भी नहीं अंतरिक्ष भी नहीं आकाश भी नहीं था छिपा था क्या कहाँ किसने ढका था उस पल तो अगम अतल जल भी कहाँ था. I'm sure all of you remember this beautiful introduction from the series in Doordarshan called Discovery of India, inspired by the book written of the same name by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. इतना सुंदर ऋग्वेद के नासदीय सूक्त से ये पंक्तियाँ हैं जो कहता है कि what was there before, कुछ भी तो नहीं था, ना सत था ना असत था, ना अंधकार था ना उजाला था, क्योंकि जब उजाला ही नहीं था तो पता ही नहीं था कि अंधकार भी होता है. ना हवा थी ना गर्मी थी ना कुछ था, और इतना ज़्यादा स्पेस था और इतना ज़्यादा इनर्शिया था कि वहाँ पे जो भी था वो बस था. जल भी नहीं था, हवा भी नहीं थी. ये हमारे ब्रह्मांड की उपज की कथा है. And then suddenly there was this huge vibration, what you and I probably call the Big Bang, you know, the emergence of sound so loud that it disrupted that space into several fractions. और ऐसा कहते हैं कि उस आवाज़ के साथ एक कड़कती रोशनी, इतनी तेज़ रोशनी हुई और फिर सब कुछ जैसे थम गया. And that is what it says, that the whole sound of Om came in, the Parabrahma, the Ekakshara Brahma, the Pranavanad, from where the entire universe is supposed to have emerged. और इसी यूनिवर्स में से ही आज हम यहाँ पे हैं. पर हम लोग सब जितने भी जीव हैं सभी के सब उसी ओम से निकले हुए हैं. So the emergence of Om, which actually gave rise to the observable, discoverable and the distinguishable universe that we see now, came after this big bang, the loud big bang. And over a period of millions and millions of years, three gunas started to interplay with each other, with the vibration that Om created and still continues to create. Is the sattva, the rajas and the tamas. These three gunas, their playing back and forth and interacting with each other gave birth to the five elements: the earth, air, water, fire and space. These five elements, as we know it, created the cosmos, and that is why the Vedavakyas tell us that, you know, we are what we see outside, and what we see outside is what we are, right? So Aham Brahmasmi comes about by this basic explanation of the interplay of sound of Om along with the gunas and then with the Pancha Mahabhutas. The Panchatattvas of Agni, Jal, Vayu, etc. gave birth to the Panchatanmatras. The five Panchatanmatras is that of seeing, eating, feeling, the Tanmatras, the desires, the feelings in which we perceive the entire world. They came about, and from the Panchatanmatras we got the Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. We have the five Jnanendriyas and the five Karmendriyas. This entire entity and these elements as a software is what we are made of. We are made of the Panchatanmatras. We have the Panchagyanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. We are made of the Pancha Mahabhutas, and we reverberate to the sound of Om, and with our vibration we fall into the category of either one of the sattva, rajas or the tamasic gunas. After the Panchatanmatras came about, there was a period of lull and there was just water everywhere. जहाँ जहाँ पे भी स्पेस था, अब वहाँ वहाँ पानी था. हर जगह इतना अत्यंत इतना ज़्यादा पानी, और पानी के बदले आपको कुछ भी नहीं दिखाई देता था. ऐसा लगता था that the entire universe or whatever was visible is just water. And one day, slowly floating on that water, looked like an illuminated being, a form which is gold in color, and it was floating, and it was floating on lotus pods. In that vast water body was this illuminated being just floating, just being. And as we zoom into the kathas and to the stories and to the Vedas and to the Agama Shastras, it says that this being was like gold, like heat, like the strongest rays of the sun itself, so illumined that there is no way you could look at it, but you could only feel its presence. This being continued to float as to gestating in the waters that soon became milk because of its divine presence, and we call this being Narayana, the one who floats on water. From the Parabrahma that was Om, we found a being where the Parabrahma is Narayana. From that Narayana, there seemed to be a small stem that kind of grew, and it just grew and it just grew, and there seemed to be no end where the stem would lead. But as time followed the story and the gaze, it found that that stem had a beautiful lotus, 14 petaled lotus. And in that 14 petaled lotus, there was this illuminating sparkle, as though even more illuminating than the being itself, as though covered with diamond dust, a being which looked like an egg, an oblong egg, lying gently onto that 14 petaled lotus. Over a period of time, the egg vaporized. It did not break, it just vaporized. जैसे आप इनो पीते हो तो क्या करते हो, जब इनो पानी में डालते हो वेपराइज हो जाता है, इसी तरह से the egg vaporized, and from that egg emerged instantly the wonderful, divine and the most good-looking God, one-headed Brahma. Brahma was attached in the navel by this stem of the lotus pod in which Narayana was floating. Brahma opens his eyes, and as he opens his eyes, the skies, the mountains, the glaciers, the birds, the animals, the reptiles, the human beings, all of them start to emerge. Not in actuality, but in terms of their soft copy, in terms of their coding, in terms of their seed being laid down, and that is the reason Brahma is known as the creator of the universe. As Brahma opens his eyes and manifestation happens, time tells us that he had been lying in that 14-petaled lotus for 360 kalpas, each kalpa measuring up to 8.64 billion years, overall say about 3 trillion years. That was a time of gestation of Brahma in the Hiranyagarbha. Rising like a phoenix, suddenly he stood up and he looked around. He was surrounded by milk all over, floating out of nowhere. He looked at from where he came, and he was nestled in this 14-petal flower. Excited and extremely inquisitive that Brahma was, he yawned and stretched, splitting that 14-petal lotus into 7 petals that went up and 7 petals that went down, forming the 14 lokas, and we in the middle being in the bhuloka. After he had done that and realized his mastery over what he had just accomplished, almost as like an innocent child that somehow got something right, Brahma started to look around. Wherever he tried to put his feet, the stalk of that lotus that was attached to his navel followed him. And as he pursued the vast Kshirasagara, he saw this being floating on the lotus. Excited to see someone other than him, his own self, he sprang and ran towards this entity. Gravity somehow seemed to pull him down faster than he had anticipated, and slowly he was face to face in front of Narayana. "Who are you?" he asked. Impudent, arrogant, egoistic. He was like, "I have emerged and I have separated this entire universe into 14 lokas. And who are you? And how have you come over here? Do you know that I'm your master?" Narayana looks at Brahma, smiling as he always does, and tells him that, "Brahma, your name is Brahma. You are the creator and you have been summoned to create this particular yuga. You have come before and many like you have come before. You are born out of my will to create the universe, and I am your father." The both of them started to have a lot of argument. Brahma, being Brahma, was hurling very bad energy and emotions at Narayana, while Narayana just lay on that lotus pod. And suddenly, as he lay, snakes started to come and hover around him. And they all merged to create Adishesha. And in front of Brahma's eyes, Adishesha gently and magically lifts Narayana up and covers him with its 1,000-hooded body. And Brahma looks at Narayana aghast and almost in tears, wondering if he had done the right thing by abusing Narayana. Narayana looks at Brahma and he says, "The Naga here symbolizes Kundalini. It symbolizes Shakti. You have been summoned by me to create Prakriti so that this Shakti can interplay and create all the things that you have imagined into actual manifestations. Your job, Brahma, is to invoke Prakriti with your creation." But Brahma's ego, would just not let him keep quiet. Even though he knew that there was no point in arguing, Brahma went on and he said, "I refuse to believe you. If you have created this Naga out of nothing, I have created 14 lokas. So there goes, I and you are equal." Soon, the simple argument turned into a squabble. The squabble turned into a fight, and soon they were both killing each other with loud roars. And amidst this pandemonium, there was this light, this pillar of light that out of nowhere shot right in between them, as though creating a translucent wall. Both Narayana and Brahma were aghast. They had no clue about what this light was. And so they decided to find out where the light had come from. So Narayana, in one of his manifestation, becomes a boar, which he later becomes a Varaha avatar. So please do not confuse yourselves with the avatars. The avatars are much later. This is the primordial katha of how the yuga started, even before Satyuga. And so he becomes a boar, goes inside the ocean, starts to search for the source of this light. Meanwhile, Brahma manifests as a swan and starts to fly upwards, following the light just to find out where the origin of that light in that sky is. After many years, Varaha comes back. He's not able to find the source of the light. Brahma, as a swan, is also tired, and just as he's about to come back, he sees this beautiful fragrant flower, which is the Ketaki flower, falling from the sky. And so Brahma turns around, sly that he is, and asks her that, you know what, I'm the one who's created the 14 lokas, and I can take you and keep you with me, and you will be blessed, and you will be immortal, and you will live in abundance. All you have to say is that you were a witness to the source of the light in the sky. Ketki, just because she just loved the offer, agrees. And as they come down, they discover that even Vishnu, Narayana, who was a boar avatar, is standing over there. The light still exists. And Brahma, as the swan, lands right next to the light, and he says, I have found the source of light, Narayana. I am greater than you, and I have the witness is this Ketaki flower, which will vouch that we both saw the source of the light. So meanwhile, Narayana says, okay, you might have seen the source, but I haven't seen the source. I have searched to the deepest crevices of this water body, and I have not found the source. So I am ready to surrender to whatever this light is and to you. It is exactly at that point that this mighty figure appears from the middle of the light, as though cracking open a beam, and just emerges from there. Both Narayana and Brahma are not able to fathom this imagery that is happening in front of them. And they try to look very hard and very deep, not even understanding that they themselves are as powerful, but they have not realized it as yet, just as yet. And then out of that little obscure, abstract image comes a defined, magnanimous, handsome, and a breathtakingly illuminating form that we know as Shiva. With long matted hair, with a face that nobody can ever say no to. You keep staring at that face with the mighty snakes coiled all around his body. Shiva emerges and in a very loud, stern voice demands to know why Brahma said what he did and why did he lie. Brahma, absolutely scared and intimidated obviously by this form, starts to stammer and says that I do not know who you are. And the impudence of that and this argument, which was nonsensical. We have a lot of people like that in our lives. Even though they know they are wrong, they will not stop arguing. This is a very Brahma characteristic. And that is when Shiva shuts Brahma with a violent roar and tells him and wakes him up, snaps him out of it and says, do not forget the reason you're here, Brahma. You have to support the creation that is going to be manifested by Narayana. And I want you to remember this, looking deep into his eyes as though an entire earthquake is shattered within Brahma's being. Brahma closes his eyes and bows down to this magnanimous light that is Shiva. Shiva now turns towards Narayana and embraces him and tells him that you forgot, we all are one. You and me are the same. I will relinquish and you will take care, and Brahma, our friend here, will create. We are the Trinity that emerges from the same light. As Shiva and Narayana hug it out, hug each other in a warm embrace, Brahma feels very left out, feels very, very angry. We all know the feeling. And from his forehead emerges a red tornado. It's like a small little red, that's how the Shastras explain it. So it's a small tornado जो बिल्कुल उनके कपाल से निकल कर बाहर आता है और इतना बड़ा होता है और इतना बड़ा होता है और इतना बड़ा होता है, and it like a huge tornado. It keeps spinning, and the more it spins, the more dark it becomes. And the pangs of that tornado is felt by Brahma until Brahma falls down on the feet of Mahadeva, of Shiva, and says, please make this stop. What is this? And Shiva says, you tell me what it is. I demand to know that you should know what this is, because this has emerged out of your being. This tornado, meanwhile, is frightening the wits out of Brahma, demanding to know what Brahma thinks of it. And all Brahma can say is Rud, Rud. And then the tornado says, I am Rudra. I am the anger that has come out of your forehead. And this is not your job. Rudra is so violent. And Mahadeva, Shiva, looks at Rudra and asks him to kind of calm down. Brahma falls down at the feet of Rudra, apologizes many a times, and Rudra is pacified. And Brahma says, I only request you to please not be this violent and help me to create this universe. Rudra agrees, and almost immediately, very, very violently, in fact, starts to multiply his own self, almost as though going through mitosis, And in a fraction of a second, in the time frame of Manu, there are 11 Rudras standing in front of Brahma. Brahma is exasperated and begs Rudra to stop multiplying himself. The 11 Rudras, as we know, are a gift from Rudra to Brahma in the process of creating Prakriti. Rudra stops and he is very amused by what Brahma is trying to tell him. Brahma tells Rudra, you cannot do this. We cannot create immortals. We have to create mortal beings, those that emerge from a single atom, those that will, infest this earth, who will create this earth, who will manifest things, where there will be law, there will be order, there will be organization, there will be progeny, there will be production of ideas, of stimuli, there will be music, and where there will be dance. Oh Rudra, stop. We do not want any more of your immortal beings. Rudra laughs and he says that I can only manifest myself, and I am complete and I am alone. What you really need, Brahma, is to create the first chain of people, of animals, of reptiles that will multiply and reproduce to create this universe. When Mahadev and Shiva look at Vishnu and Narayana, they all are smiling together and looking at Brahma, and then Brahma looking at Rudra and realizing that it is just another Leela of Narayana and Shiva in bringing about another yuga in the ever evolving, ever continuing cyclic creation that we call life. As Brahma with tear-eyed looks at Rudra, Rudra understands that now he understands as well, and he tells Brahma, I will not be able to multiply as a single-celled organism for you, but I will be present in 5 forms in this universe. And those five forms that we know in the Sanatana Dharma is Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Anugraha and Vilaya. 5 states that I shall be present in, O Brahma. You will be able to create anything that you want. I, Rudra, will remain in every single molecule of everything that you create. Do not forget your purpose, Brahma, Rudra warns him. And he says that I will not waste a single minute to come and remind you and reprimand you if you were to make a mistake again. Whenever you want me, whenever you want me to help you, just think of me, O Brahma, and I shall appear in full glory in front of you almost instantly. As the gods Rudra and Narayana, Brahma looked at whatever that was happening, this majestic form of Shiva disappears. And all of them are just left looking at each other. Brahma smiled and thus created 11 places for the 11 Rudras to live eternally. one was allotted the Anahata Chakra. 5 became the Tanmatras that gave rise to the 5 Gyanendriyas and the 5 Karmendriyas. 5 became the Panchamahabhutas. Rudra had told Brahma that I, in the 5 forms of Sadyojata, Vamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurusha and Ishana, will continue to live and to guide and to be there to protect everything and everyone according to their karmic cycle. Tatpurushaya Vigmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahe Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Rudra, as forms of 5 Shivas, lives with us, right? So he lives in the Mooladhara Chakra, he faces east and he lives in the Annamaya Kosha. So if your Mooladhara Chakra is very strong, if you're very strong with, gardening, earthing, grounding, cooking, that means you should definitely worship Vamadeva. Vamadeva lives as this Rudra amongst us and he governs the Mooladhara Chakra, faces the east and consists of Prithvi Tattva. So if you are close to earth, that means if you're close to Prithvi, then Vamadeva's blessings are always on you. So Aghora for you in the form of Rudra faces south, is the Adhishtatra Dev of the Swadhisthana Chakra, so everything to do with your sexual energy. Also is very ferocious, so will help you eliminate negativity if you invoke him in the form of a mantra. He also has his rejuvenating and dissolving qualities that is so much a water element. Vamadevaya namo, Jyesthaya namah, Shreshthaya namo, Rudraya namah, Kalaya namo, Kalavikaranaaya namo, Balaya namo, Balavikaranaya namo, Balapramathanaya namo, Sarvabhutadamanaya namo, Manonmayaya namaha. This is Vamadeva. Vamadeva sits in Anahat, and that is why the brand is Anahata. Vamadeva is representing of the Vayu or the air element. He sits in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the intellect of the human mind. So anytime you feel disillusioned, anytime you feel ki ye nahi samajh mein aa raha hai, you're confused about a lot of things, invoke Vamadeva. And one way to invoke Vamadeva is to kind of say the Bijakshara of Yam, which is the Bijakshara of Anahata Chakra. So all you do is close your eyes, think about Shiva as Vamadeva, and then just say Yam, Yam. And that's how Vamadeva in the form of the 4th Rudra resides within us. Ishana Sarva Vidyanam, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, Brahmadipati, Brahmanodhipatir Brahma Shivo me astu Sada Shivom. He's Sada Shiva. So that is Ishana. Ishana in the form of the 5th Rudra who resides in the Anandamaya Kosha, जो हमेशा सच्चित आनंद में होते हैं. He is that who had occupied जब कुछ नहीं था, जब पानी नहीं था, जब वायु नहीं थी, तब सदाशिव थे. He is space and he resides in the Anandamaya Kosha. He faces upwards and he is the reason for aligning your superconscious energy with the subconscious to the Param conscious, the Satchit that is there, that who resides in your own body as Rudra himself. इसीलिए तो हर हर महादेव कहते हैं, क्योंकि वो आप ही के अंदर हैं. And if you want to manifest him, you just learn to keep quiet, quieten the mind and just meditate upon his form. And he then will manifest in all the other 4 forms and make your life fabulous and complete.